What is up, guys? I ended up snagging a Odyssey battery off of Facebook. I found a pretty good deal. The guy said the battery, in his opinion, was pretty much shot. But I know Odysseys have great reviews, and it's virgin lead to begin with, so you have a great shot at reviving it compared to a recycled battery. Got it for super cheap along with this bracket to mount it up. So it was, honestly, it basically cost me the price of the bracket essentially. Battery was free. I got it today. I put the voltmeter on it when I got here. It's 10.8. Put it on the charger. Had it charging for about, I don't know, an hour or so maybe. I haven't checked it because I just pulled it off to test fit this bracket. I got the bracket bolted up with just one bolt going to an existing bracket, kind of like that one, but over here. I'm going to get I'm gonna need a M8 by 1.25 Allen key with a countersink head in it so that it sits flush into the bracket. Right now, the battery isn't sitting flush because the bolt behind it isn't allowing it to. So I didn't need to get one of those, and then there's a piece that goes over right here that kind of ties the battery down. I really like the way this looks, and it's super tiny, super compact. I think it'll work out great. Who knows if this battery is actually going to come back to life or not, but if I can even get a few test starts out of it and confirm that the battery is actually strong enough, because the battery that they recommend is a 1400 series, but talking to Bert, he said that it's most likely just because they want to have the same size battery to fit in that location as the original battery in the car. It doesn't actually need to be that big because the lead is much better quality. So this only has like 200 cold cranking amps, but it's like 600 hot cranking amps for a pulse charge, or the 5-second pulse. So if we can bring it back to any sort of life and see how it sounds cranking over the 2-liter, we'll probably just get the same battery again. If not, we'll probably bump it up to something in between like the 960 or 925, I think it is. This is a 680. And then, like I said, they recommend the 1400, but we'll see how it does. I'm going to pull this battery out just to show you how the bracket's mounted, and then we'll put the voltmeter on it now that it's been sitting for about 5 minutes with no charge or no load on it, see what it evens out to. And yeah. It's small, but it's still pretty heavy. So as you can see, there's just one bolt, 12mm bolt going in there. It lined up with an existing tab. I'll probably just use the one bolt for now, and then I'll probably just put another tab for this bolt hole here so that it's pretty secure, but just off of the one, it's pretty sturdy, honestly. Alright, let's get this battery, see what it tests to. Ow. And the guy sent me some things. The way Odyssey recommends to bring these back to life is to actually charge it off of a good battery until it reaches, I think it's 11.8 or something, basically just under normal charge, and then they recommend to put it on a charger from there. I guess that kind of slow charges it, and I guess it just works better than going straight from a charger. So this was at 12.1. I just want to bump it up a little bit, bring some life back into it, and then we'll probably do how they recommend, slow charge it off of this, and then probably slow charge it off of this for like, I don't know, half an hour, put on the charger for a little bit, and then we'll go home, and then we'll see what it's at tomorrow. This is gonna be difficult. It is at 12.6. Alright, now you can see 12.26. Probably gotta take the flash off. 12.26. So I don't know. We'll probably leave it there while this charges up for another 10 minutes. Alright, 12.25, there you go. So it actually came back pretty quickly. I think I'm just gonna let this drain itself out a little bit, sit for 10 minutes, let this charge up for 5-10 minutes, and then I'll probably just put this one back on the charger, actually, not even do what I was just talking about with the battery, because it seems to already have come back. Maybe I'll put a small load onto it, just to see how it does. Also, I did make one of the coolant lines from the AOS to the turbo. I got the 90-degree fitting, and then I just cut the hose to size. Right now, it is rubbing on the rod for the wastegate, but the plan is I was already going to wrap this in the fire sleeve by DEI. It's like a heat protective sleeve. I was already planning on doing that for the turbo heat, and now even more so because it won't be directly rubbing on that rod. And eventually there will not be an external wastegate. So I did this the other day too. I found some 1/2-inch silicone hose. This is actually heater hose, but doesn't really matter. I just ran those 2 hoses. I'm waiting for more 1/2-inch hose to do the 2 valve cover lines. I got some 3/8 hose that we will use for this connection to the manifold. I need to order a barbed 3/8 fitting for that, and then that's pretty much it. These ones run back to the turbo inlet somewhere. I guess I'll just run this as the Street Series setup for now, and maybe later down the line I'll turn it into the competition series. I'll just run it as it is for now and see how it does, because technically the competition series needs a tune. So alright, I'm just waiting for the fittings for here still. I did get the bung, but I don't want to cut this back until I have an idea of what the fittings look like. And then I got the 6AN bung. I'm going to weld into here, and then it'll be a 90-degree fitting coming here, and then a 90-degree fitting to the reservoir right here, and that should be good. Once the manifold's back on, we'll make that line as well as this line going to the reservoir right here, and that'll be good for the coolant lines. We just gotta loop, either cap or loop the heater hoses around for now. Yeah, we just gotta do some cleaning up under here, get all these loose bolts that we've been dropping out of here, get all the leaves out, probably just blow a little compressed air, clean it up, and then once we get this situated, we'll be able to put the manifold back on and be able to fill it up with some coolant, and we'll be able to move it. Oh yeah, one other thing, guys, I forgot. When I was pulling the manifold off, I accidentally bent this fuel line right there, which is probably not too good, but I don't think I totally kinked it, so I think it'll be okay. But I'm just scared stressing it, pulling it back, so we're gonna leave it as is for now till the manifold comes off, and I'm gonna make sure that the manifold is not coming off again until we're doing TGV deletes, injectors, fuel lines, fuel rails, all that good stuff, because it's probably going to break next time unless we pull with the TGVs connected to it. But either way, that was a mistake. Now I remember why I always pull it with the TGVs on or connected still to the manifold. But in this case, I wanted to leave them to actually make sure I had enough clearance to clear the TGV motor for the time being while they're still on there. So I had a reason why I did it, but I had to suffer because of it. Oh yeah, and real quick before my phone dies, guys, me and Bert fixed the plasma yesterday. One of the signal wires for the safety switch was broken in the lead here. Hot ember from a weld or from the plasma went through all the insulation and broke it. Either way, we fixed it, and I actually made my 20 AN size crow's foot to do the lower rad hose fitting, because I can't fit the regular wrench in here. So I actually did a pretty good job with eyeing it up. Well, I didn't eye it up, but did a good job with my cuts and got it pretty precise. It isn't perfect, but it is pretty close. So happy with that. And wow, my camera sucks. But and then I just drilled, I found a crappy socket I didn't care about. It was like a 1/4 inch drive, something random, like 30 seconds or something. So I drilled a 1/2 inch hole through here, and then I just welded the socket to the plate here, and then I cut the socket down flush perfectly, so now I can use the 1/4 inch on both ends of it. The ratchet actually fits on this side as well, so I'm pretty happy with how that all worked out. Now it's a true crow's foot that I can use both ways. Pretty cool. Alright, I ended up mounting the radiator. I just did some 1/4 inch holes with some 1/4 inch bolt and through nuts for the time being. Eventually it'll be a 12mm bolt with a helicoil into the aluminum, most likely. I'll just leave it like this, but eventually I'll probably just make it so the bolt comes out on its own. You don't have to hold a wrench or anything like that. But for now, we got it mounted. I took this off and I cut it back roughly to where I think it's gonna be. Only problem that I foresee is that we have an oval here and we got a circle here, so it's gonna be a little tough for my buddy to weld it. This inner diameter is like, I forget, I had it done already. It's like less than an inch, just around an inch. The outer diameter of this is 1.5 inches, just shy. So we have like a 1/2 inch to make up for. So what I'm thinking is we will round out the sides until we're at like 0.115 maybe. Leave some thickness there, and then we'll do the same here as much as we can. Probably not. This has to be, I already measured it out. We are like 1/10 of an inch off. No matter what, we're gonna have to take too much away of this or too much away of that. That's good. Scratch up the new rad. I need to put some cardboard on this. I don't know why I haven't done it yet, but we're 1/10 of an inch off. So I think what's going to happen is we will actually fully take this away to the inner wall, because he'll still be able to weld this ridge to there. So even if that's all the way missing, this will still be thick enough, I hope. So I'm gonna ask him what he thinks about that, and because he's ultimately the one welding it. But I think it can be done one way or another, but these top gaps are gonna be probably a little tough to fill, but we'll see, because that gap is probably like 1 3/4. Yep, almost exactly 1 3/4. So he's gonna have a 1/8 of an inch gap on top and bottom, but we'll see. Alright guys, that is the next step, is to get that done, and then we'll put the manifold, or we'll put this back on, put the manifold back on, run it as is for now, and make sure everything's good, and then finalize everything and put it back together nice and neat later on. And also all this battery cable stuff, I was thinking this battery's so small that for the time being I could just run it up here in the engine bay. I did all that work to route the lines down there and this and that, but the one hot line that goes from the hot to the relay fuse box, I guess it's the constant power for the fuse box, that line is the only line that doesn't reach, and it's like a 8-gauge wire, which I don't mind buying, but it's slowing down the process waiting for the wire, ordering it, blah blah blah. So I'm probably gonna pull the cables back out, route it back normally, and hook the fuse box back up and run it like that for time being. But eventually we definitely will be mounting this in there. And I also was thinking on my drive home of how to relocate this box. One thought was to put it over here behind the fender, and then the only harness would be the main engine harness coming through. But then I was really having a thought, and I was thinking pull all the lines back through besides the alternator cable. That's the only one you would have to pull through, and put this inside of the cabin, and then when I do the injectors and all that stuff, I would pull back all this loom, reroute these two main engine connectors, and pull them back through the loom so they came out back here, and then I could actually run them down behind the starter and, you know, all through this area, and then have my fuse box and my connections on the inside of the car behind the dash for like ultimate wire tuck. And honestly, even the alternator hot cable could run like down under here and do the same thing, go back with it. So that was a major like epiphany for me yesterday, was that I could do that. And also I'm thinking the MAF sensor, nothing you can do about that, but like the boost control solenoid, I can like tuck that like under the AOS or back behind it up here, and all those wires will be nice and tucked away as well. So I got some big ideas for a wire tuck, and I think it's gonna be pretty easy, honestly. So I'm excited about that. Alright guys, that's gonna be it though. Just want to do an update on that. I'm gonna start cleaning up this block since I have it open, get all the, I already said this, but there's a couple more bolts and nuts in there. And I'll get the vacuum, clean it up, probably spray it down with some degreaser, hit it with the toothbrush a little bit, just get it looking as good as possible for the time being. And then, because there's not much to do until we get this situated. What up guys? Well, I had the manifold off and the crossover pipe off. I figured I'd clean up the block a little bit. I know my camera isn't the best, but I think you guys can see that it's a lot cleaner than it was beforehand. Kind of stupid because I ended up just blowing all the dirt all over the rest of the engine bay, but it's all good. Probably if it stays warm, maybe one day we'll push this thing outside and get the power washer hooked up and rinse it all off, or wait till springtime. But this is kind of just to prep for future cleaning for when the block comes out and I paint it and make it look all nice. This is kind of just a head start, getting my work cut out for me. Still waiting on the 20 AN fittings for the crossover tube. It's basically holding us up from putting that on and the manifold back on. Besides that, we're pretty much ready. Just got to do some tidying up. I'm gonna bring the battery back over here, like I said, for temporary, and we should be pretty much good to go. Fill up the coolant system and see how it does. One other thing we're waiting for, I forgot to mention, is I ordered the tool to depin the harness connector, so hopefully I can get the pin out and I can just recrimp the wire in there. If not, I'm gonna have to go to the junkyard and hunt around for the other end of the knock sensor connector on the harness side. Shouldn't be a huge deal, but just kind of a pain. I'd like to get that done before the manifold goes back on, just in case, because it might be a little bit of a little tough to crimp the wire and all that in the tight spot, but we'll see what happens. My dummy self didn't put a rag in that side of the turbo. Don't know why I didn't do that.